Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends. Ho, ho, ho. First Comey, then Letitia James, and now the Walrus. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton was indicted yesterday by a grand jury. The Justice Department now has, it really, when you look at the details of this, Bolton's in big trouble. Bolton may be spending the rest of his life in jail. He is 76 years old. As you know, he is a deep stater, has been for a long time. He was Trump's national security advisor in his first term for about 18 months. And it was clear that he was there to subvert the Trump administration, to undermine Trump and his agenda, in favor of a neocon establishment, globalist deep state effort to sabotage Trump's efforts to get a peace deal with North Korea, to end our forever wars, to eventually pull out of Afghanistan with honor, peace with honor, as Trump said repeatedly. What Bolton wanted was he wanted to destroy everything Trump was trying to do regarding his America First foreign policy from within. And as I said on X last night, and again I have to repeat it, he used this show in particular to do it. As many of you know, we had Bolton on for years. He was a regular on this show every Friday. And my collaboration with Bolton was due to the United Nations, where he was a big critic of the UN under Bush, which I agreed with. He was a staunch opponent of foreign aid, which I agreed with. And the biggest one was he was an opponent of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, this UN-backed court, which wanted to use now so-called quote-unquote international law to try American troops, American generals, and eventually even American presidents for so-called war crimes. In other words, it was a globalist, leftist attempt to try to destroy our sovereignty and end America as a military superpower and destroy our independence on the world stage. And so on those issues, Bolton, to be fair, was not just good, he was excellent. And so that's what initially started him coming on the Kuhner Report. But what became obvious is after Trump won, Bolton wanted access to the administration. And of course, his foreign policy views were different than President Trump's. He was a Bushy, John Bolton was, much closer to George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, that entire globalist, neoconservative, warmongering wing, warhawk wing of the Republican Party that Trump had actually run against and defeated in 2016. And so what he did was he came on this show and he began to deceive. He began to reinvent himself as a born-again, MAGA, America First conservative. And he sounded like Trump on many issues. And he said what he believed Trump wanted to hear, and his people wanted to hear. But in retrospect, here is clearly what he did. He came on my show, he came on this show, our show, to ingratiate himself with Trump, to ingratiate himself with the Trump administration, with MAGA, and eventually he was able to get himself into the administration because they were hearing him on this show in particular and said, you know what, Bolton's changing, Bolton's evolving, Bolton sounds like one of us now, and let's give him a shot at national security advisor. And so he ingratiated himself into the administration, but it wasn't because he really wanted to help Trump succeed or help the country succeed. No, 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 no. He was there to destroy it, undermine it from within, subvert it from within. And he barely lasted 18 months on the job. Trump couldn't believe how again and again and again Bolton was constantly blocking him, obstructing him, usually behind the scenes, leaking against him. And as I said on X yesterday, once he became National Security Advisor in Trump's first term, I never heard from the walrus again. Ever. Not an email, not a text message, nothing, nada, zero, zilch. Because for him, it was mission accomplished. He got in, and he did as much damage against Trump and America first as he could. Now, here comes the indictments. What he also did was he padded his bank account, and he wrote a self-serving memoir, primarily based on his time, those 18 months, in Trump's first term. And it was called, it was published, forgive me, in 2020, The Room Where It Happened, or Where It All Happened. And there he uses his book in 2020 to attack Trump, to eviscerate Trump, to hopefully defeat Trump in the 2020 election when he was running against Joe Biden. And so what he did was he set up, as he was National Security Advisor, he set up what was sort of like diary entries of, and this is the key now, our weapons of mass destruction program, our meetings with foreign leaders, highly sensitive, highly classified information regarding war plans, regarding information that we have about covert operations happening around the world. And then he sent it to two other people on a private email server. He used both a Google and an AOL email account on a private server in which he took classified, in fact, highly classified information at the highest level and sent it off to two other people. Who are these two other people? It turns out to be his wife and his daughter. He claimed there were two editors for his book. It was his wife and his daughter, so that they could hold on to this information as he kept amassing it and amassing it and amassing it for what would eventually become a memoir. Now, he was told repeatedly by the Trump administration, you do not have permission to use this highly classified information. It's classified. It should not be published. It should never be published. The Espionage Act is crystal clear on this. It is illegal. He did it anyway. A federal judge, and this is after Bolton had sent out thousands of copies of his book to editors, to publishers, to reviewers, already early orders. Remember, the left snatched up that book. It made him a star on the anti-Trump left. The resistance loved him for it. They hated him because he was an architect of the Iraq War for years. Now, they re-Christianed him an anti-Trumper. And he got a gig on This Is CNN. CNN loved him. They couldn't get enough of him. But a judge told him, I'm not going to order the destruction of the copies of these books, but I want you to know you have violated national security. You have violated the Espionage Act. You're going to get yourself in big trouble. Bolton didn't care. He wanted to publish this book where he made a fortune, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So he had a personal financial self-interest. He wanted to line his bank account. But the big reason was he wanted now to punch Trump in the nose, to hurt him, to damage him, to undermine him just before the 2020 critical election with Joe Biden. Here's his former national security advisor, for God's sake, saying this man is, quote, not fit to be president of the United States. And that was his goal the whole time. It's why he came on this show. It's why he wanted to get into the Trump administration. It's why he kept taking all of these entries, all of this information, and then sending it on a private server, which, by the way, is exactly what Hillary Clinton did. Now, here is the kicker. As he puts all of this highly classified, sensitive information on a private server, which is illegal, and then he transmits it to his wife and daughter, which is illegal, it turns out that the Iranians hacked his AOL personal email account. Meaning, he was so irresponsible and so reckless that by doing what he did, the Iranians now most likely got access to some of our biggest, most classified, sensitive secrets and information. John Bolton, former national security advisor to President Trump, has now been indicted on, listen to this, 18 counts. 18 counts. 10 counts of retaining classified, highly sensitive classified information, and 8 counts of transmitting highly classified, sensitive information. That was done on 2 private email servers, on AOL and on Google. This was while he was national security advisor, and he was told repeatedly not to do it. He was told not to publish a lot of this information in his memoir, which he did publish in 2020, and it was sent to his family members. He tried to do it in as surreptitiously as possible, and now he's been nailed. And they obviously got to prove their case in court. Anything can happen when you're in court. This is going to be in Maryland, federal court in Maryland. But Bolton now is in big, big trouble. Big trouble. And on top of everything else, it turns out that the Iranians hacked his private AOL email account. And if you can believe it, they were able to access a lot of the classified information that he had downloaded and sent to both his wife and his daughter for them to retain as he was going to eventually write his memoir. So he was planning the whole time to write a hit piece, to do a hatchet job on Trump. And in many ways, he was spying on the Trump administration from within. And he was just taking notes and meeting after meeting, taking down sensitive, even classified information. And apparently it was about everything. It was about our missile programs. It was about our WMD programs, our weapons of mass destruction, meetings with private leaders, foreign leaders, private meetings, what they said about Trump in private, information that they revealed about what their countries had in terms of military technology and covert operations going on, as well as some of our covert operations going on. He had it all written down. And his goal was to try to embarrass, attack, undermine, and eventually sabotage the President of the United States, and then time his book just before the 2020 election to help Joe Biden win. I mean, as I said in my opening monologue, and as I said on X last night, he is a treacherous, conniving, lying little snake, and a deep state operative through and through. A warmonger, a globalist, someone who clearly was working in the shadows, part of the swamp, to do in Donald Trump the first chance he got. And he was on this show for years. And as I said, he used us. He lied. He falsely portrayed himself to be someone on Trump's team. And clearly he was auditioning to become national security advisor. And to be honest, he even fooled Eric Trump. He fooled Don Jr. He fooled many people because they were hearing him on my show. And obviously they began to meet with him. And they said, boy, he's smart and he's saying all the right things. He's a different man. He's one of us. And of course, the whole time, it was a cloak and dagger operation. He was being one thing. He was pretending to be one thing while being another. Listen now to President Trump. In fact, he was kind of taken aback. He hadn't even been forewarned that Bolton was going to be indicted yesterday, later in the afternoon. A reporter asked him, saying Bolton has just been indicted by a grand jury in Maryland for mishandling and transmitting classified information in clear violation of the Espionage Act. What's your reaction? Listen to President Trump. Roll cut 5, a mic.
Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person.
He's right. But, you can be bad and not do something illegal, right? Well, he clearly did something illegal. That's the issue. Now, let me just make a couple more points, and then I want to open it up to you, the wonderful audience of Kuhner Country. 617-266-6868 is the number. Part of the case, it's not the entire case, but part of the case against the Walrus, okay, against John Bolton, is very similar to the case against Hillary Clinton. Remember, Hillary Clinton, it was in her emails, which contained very sensitive classified information. And she downloaded sensitive, highly classified information on a private server, on a private email account. And then was also transmitting it, i.e. emailing stuff, to, people that she knew, friends, colleagues, whatever, where that information could have easily been hacked, say by Iran or Russia or China or any of our foreign adversaries. And that's why what she did was so dangerous, so reckless, so irresponsible, and why she should have ended up in jail. And when there was an investigation into her private email server and all of the classified information that she illegally downloaded into her private email account, she then destroyed 33,000 emails. And by the way, her phones, everything, smashed it to pieces. So she then stonewalled and covered up the fact that she had violated the Espionage Act. And if you remember, it was then FBI Director, yep, you see how it's all one cabal, James Comey, who came out infamously during the middle of the 2016 campaign in the summer and said, yeah, she broke the law. Yeah, what she did was egregious. It was reckless. It was irresponsible. But no jury would convict. Well, how do you know? He saved her by refusing to indict. Keep on going, baby. Don't stop. That's all I'm saying. Don't stop. So, Comey indicted? Yes. Letitia James indicted? Yes. And now yesterday, it's the Walrus's turn. John Bolton. He was indicted, mishandling and transmitting classified documents in clear violation of the Espionage Act. And now I'm hoping they're going to go after Brennan and Clapper and McCabe and Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, and eventually, yes, the Hildebeest, Hillary Rotten Clinton. In other words, it's time to go after all of them. Agree, disagree? 617-266-6868 is the number. 634 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Very good text from Mark, as always. And here is what Mark wrote. Jeff, Bolton was indicted for having classified documents and then emailing them from a private server. So I have a question. Was his house raided by the FBI with guns drawn, with shoot-to-kill orders? And now this is me. I'm adding this part. Did they go through his wife's underwear drawer? You know, as they did Trump and Mar-a-Lago? But let that go. Mark continues. Because I remember a certain someone who was accused of just possessing so-called classified documents, and that's exactly what the FBI did. Asking for a friend, Jeff. Laugh out loud. Mark is completely right. Now, in August, we knew there was trouble for Bolton because Kash Patel had ordered a raid on both Bolton's home and his downtown D.C. office. But no, it wasn't guns drawn. It wasn't shoot-to-kill orders. They didn't come in there and start tearing apart the place and going into Bolton's wife's underwear but they did look for classified. And by the way, they found classified documents, sensitive documents. They seized his computers, phones. They found it also at his downtown D.C. office. And again, I know I've mentioned this, but this is so important. He didn't just take classified information and then was basically sending it to his wife and daughter on a AOL private email account and a private email server. But it turns out that after he left government, the Iranian government, the Iranians on behalf of the mullahs, hacked into his email account and had access to all of this classified information. And what he had put on that server and what he had emailed basically to his wife and daughter, by the way, he kept saying, it's for the memoir, it's for the memoir, it's for the memoir. So this was all about lining his pockets and humiliating Trump and attacking Trump. That's what the whole purpose of the book was. And this was the highest top secret documents you could possibly have. I mean, not to exaggerate for effect. It's the kind of documents people get killed for. It's the kind of information that some of our spies in other countries die for or get killed for. I want you to listen now to Trey Gowdy on Fox. He's a lawyer, legal analyst. As you know, I'm not a big fan of his. When he was a member of Congress, I thought he was all bark and no bite, but, let that go. He makes an excellent point. Listen now, saying, look, this is not just some mid-level document. They just stamped classified on it. What he took down, what he downloaded, which was illegal, and then transmitted via his email and on a private server, were some of the nation's top secrets. Roll cut 7, Mike.
I cannot tell you and your viewers how serious the information that John Bolton both disseminated to his wife and daughter, that's who the unindicted co-conspirators are, and retained. It is the gravest secrets that this country has. It's the kind of information that gets people killed.
He's right. I mean, he's completely right. And so now I want to ask all of you, okay, double-barreled question. Number one, are you happy? And I don't mean happy, gleeful, but are you satisfied that John Bolton has been indicted? Do you think this is a good thing for the country? Is it a good step in starting to drain the swamp and go after the deep state and these deep state criminals? That's number one. And number two, if Bolton can be indicted, why not Hillary? If it was illegal for him, and it was, there's no question, to download all of this classified information, keep it on a private server, and then email it to people where it was vulnerable to being hacked, if it was wrong for Bolton, illegal for Bolton, and he may be spending the rest of his life in jail, every count carries up to 10 years in prison. And that's 18 counts, 18 felony counts. Why is Hillary still walking around free? Why is it wrong for the walrus, but it's okay for the wildebeest? 617-266-6868 is the number. And I normally don't like to do this. I like to get the calls before I do my poll question of the day. But I think this time the poll question really sets up beautifully, the question I want on above all the other questions that I'd like to get, your take on. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Will former UN ambassador and former national security advisor John Bolton ever see the inside of a prison cell? In other words, will he be put behind bars? He's been indicted, very serious charges. Most legal analysts say they've dotted their I's, they've crossed their T's. Bolton is in serious trouble. But will he ever spend time in jail? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. And again, man, was I active on X last night. All one word, my handle, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, Vince.
John Bolton's not just a political whore. He's just a plain whore. And he's going to jail for the rest of his life. He's 78 years old. I haven't read the indictment, but I've heard them basically break it all down. 18 counts. If they get him on half of those counts, he's finished. All right? And not only that, he's such a sinister person. We've seen him splash across the TV for years. Everyone knows he's a neocon. Everyone knows he's a warmonger. Everyone knows he's a backstabber. And more importantly, he's a white male. And that's what's going to convict him. That is what is going to convict him. Now, you'd say Hillary Clinton, she did the same thing. Yeah, but she's Hillary Clinton. All you have to get is a couple of those moonbat white suburban women on the jury, and they can.
Vince, can you please hang on? I want you to finish your thought. Another one bites the dust. Huh? That's one way to put it. John Bolton now indicted on 18 counts, essentially for mishandling and transmitting classified information, actually highly classified, very top secret information. He is in trouble. There's no question. 650 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. All right, I want to go right back to Vince, who is calling us from Germany. Vince, you're on fire. Bolton, as you put it, is a whore, a political whore, in many ways just a whore, someone who is a backstabber. He is a neoconservative. He is a warmonger. And he's someone now who clearly betrayed the country and downloaded some of our top secrets. They were hacked into by the Iranians, and he did it all just to write a best-selling book. Please, Vince, pick up where you left off.
Well, like I was saying, he's an unsympathetic victim. Like, no jury is going to feel any empathy for John Bolton. He is a whore. He has displayed that again and again and again. And like I said, he used you, Jeff, in all jest. I'm just, saying this in jest. You're one of his Johns, right? You could say you're one of his Johns. You fell for it. He schmoozed you. He was on your show. He used your show as a platform to get the job in the first place when he just had nefarious and sinister intentions from the beginning. And like I said, they're gonna put him before a jury, and there isn't a person that's gonna feel any empathy for John Bolton. He's going away for the rest of his life, and it's just desserts. It truly is just desserts. Now, I like to always bring in the O.J. analogy. You look at O.J. Simpson, and people are like, "How the hell did O.J. Simpson get off?"
Oh, Vince. Mike, that was Vince, right? Okay. Vince, please. Yeah, Vince, call us back. That was not us. That was you. Something happened with your phone and you just dropped on us. But basically, no, he played the race card. No, you're right. The minority card, the race card. Hillary is going to play the gender card. And so your point is, especially in front of a partisan jury, and it's going to be in Maryland, heavily Democratic state, the jurors are likely to be Democrats, many of them. So, yeah, they wouldn't want to acquit a Hillary Clinton. You're saying with Bolton, they don't feel the same way. I just want to throw this in there. And if you can call back Vince, great. If not, I understand. What do you say to the argument that you're right? You're right about Bolton. He's completely unsympathetic. He's a white male. He was part of the Republican establishment. He was a Bushy for most of his career. However, he did become a vocal part of the so-called resistance. And he became a rabid anti-Trumper. And the liberal media rehabilitated him. And they loved him for it. And they couldn't get enough of him on CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC, you name it, MSNBC. They love to have the walrus on. And so you get a couple of Democrats in that jury. And you're right, it's not because of his skin color or his gender, but they're looking at him and saying, yeah, but man, this guy was part of the resistance. He hates Trump. He wrote a book against Trump. I'm going to back him. I'm going to acquit him no matter what, just to stick it to the evil orange man. In other words, Trump derangement syndrome. That this Trump derangement syndrome may influence jurors to acquit Bolton, even though he's clearly, by any objective standard, like Hillary Clinton, guilty as sin. I'm just throwing it out there. 617-266-6868 is... We got Vince back? Okay, good. All right, where's Vince? Okay, that's Vince? Okay, Vince, I'm sorry about that. That was on your end, but please, I want you to finish what you had to say. Go ahead.
Okay, and I just heard what you said. It wasn't the race card that O.J. played. It was the fact that he was such a celebrity with the Hertz commercials and his broadcasting career and then the Naked Gun movies where people saw like the jovial, happy side of O.J., that when they put him before the jury, they were like, I can't see this guy murdering his wife like this. Or maybe they just said, he's too nice of a guy. I just don't believe it. And then, they brought in the whole Mark Furman. Mark Furman was the devil. He's the white police officer that's looking to get the conviction. You know what I mean? That's how O.J. played it. And that's the same thing with Hillary Clinton. She's a woman. She's been in the rainstorm trying to fight the men. The men are trying to keep her down. Get back in the kitchen. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so, the identity politics is nauseating. But in the end, that's why John Bolton's going to get convicted and he's going to go to prison. And here's my prediction, Jeff. Here is my prediction. If you remember anything, John Bolton, before this trial, will shave off that mustache. I guarantee it.
Oh, Vince, great call. Honestly, great call. Thank you very much, Vince. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, well, he won't need it in prison, I'll tell you this. That's not going to give him a certain cachet. As it did in the diplomatic and national security circles. Just very quickly, here's Trey Gowdy saying, he's in trouble. These are serious charges. The evidence is a mile high. And it's not just that it was classified information. but it's the kind of highly sensitive, top secret classified information that he illegally retained and then illegally transmitted through a private email account and a private server. Roll cut 7A, Mike.
Millions of documents over years, and he's out there lecturing, whether it's Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or anyone else. There's so many clips in this indictment of him having notice and knowledge of how to handle material. All the while he was breaking it. I cannot stress to you the job that Kash Patel and John Lee Ratcliffe did in bringing this case to indictment. The gravest possible danger could have been done to this country, and may well have been done because Iran accessed his email at his home. This is very, very serious.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. It's treasonous. I'm telling you, what he did was treasonous. It was treason. Treason at every level. Treason against the president. Treason against the American people. Honestly, treason against us. I mean us as in Kuhner country. He lied to us. He was manipulating and playing us so he can get in, getting good with Trump. To get that job as national security advisor. But it's treason across the board. Now, very quickly, he's with Vince. Vince is predicting that Bolton will be convicted and he will go to jail. Listen now to Trey Gowdy. Gowdy says, if I'm a betting man, Bolton's going to go to the clink. He's going to go to, and by the way, he's 76 years old and these are 18 charges. Up to 10 years each. If he does go to prison, it won't be 6 months or, a year, and this could be for the rest of his life. This could be the end of Bolton, period. Roll cut 7B, Mike. $7B, Mike.
He is convicted and he spends the remainder of his natural life in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Wow. Okay. Well, from your lips to God's ears. Scott in Marlboro. Thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Hi, the Bulldozer. I love your show. I listen to it all the time.
Thank you, Scott.
This is such a great day. I mean, how many times over the years have we said, how do they get away with it? Why doesn't somebody do something? What's wrong? How is it? These high and mighty elites are finally being held accountable. They think they're untouchable. Lock them up. Put them in jail. Publicize it. Show them in leg irons. Show them in handcuffs. Show that you can't get away with it. You are not above the law. It doesn't mean, laws for you and laws for me. It's just they're not held above the law. I am so happy that some of these people are getting their due.
And Scott, you're completely right, and I can only piggyback off of what you're saying. And again, I'd love to get your take on this, Scott. People are going to be surprised at this. Now, look, Bolton, and this is to show you how the establishment, it's a game. It's just a game. It really is a uniparty up there in Washington. How the swamp, they're all thick as thieves. And they pretend, the Republicans and the Democrats, to fight and, attack each other. But really, they're all laughing behind closed doors. And here's the proof is in the pudding, right? Here's the proof. Bolton's lawyer, the lawyer that he got to defend himself. Now remember, he's fighting for his life. If he's convicted, Gowdy's right. He's going to spend the rest of his natural life in jail. He's done. He's never going to see his wife again. He's never going to be with his daughter again. I mean, they may see him and, once a week or once a month. But basically, that's it. He's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. And everything that he's worked for 50 years will now be destroyed and ruined. So who does he get to defend him? He gets the Democrats' top lawyer, who originally cut his teeth by being Hillary and Bill Clinton's lawyer, and that's Abby Lowell. Abby Lowell, if that name rings a bell to everybody. By the way, he's a shyster. I mean, what is he, $5,000 an hour? It's some ridiculous fee that he charges, okay? But he was Hunter Biden's lawyer. Hunter Biden's lawyer. He's now James Comey's lawyer. He's Letitia James's lawyer. He's a hired gun for the Democratic Party. And this is who Bolton gets to defend him. And Lowell is more than happy to defend him. Now, in other words, when I'm just think about it, why would a lifelong Republican like Bolton, there are many very intelligent, successful, influential, high-powered Republican lawyers in D.C. No, he gets the Democrat top dog. So why would he reach out to Abby Lowell? Why would Abby Lowell? I'm just saying, if there really is two parties, Abby Lowell would be like, oh, this guy's Satan. I mean, he's been a lifelong Republican. What are you talking about? He served in under Trump. He served under George W. Bush. He served under Bush 41. He served under Ronald Reagan. He's been around forever. He's been a fixture in Washington for 50 years, allegedly working for the quote-unquote other side. Lowell is happy to take his money. Lowell is happy to take up his case. The media now is taking up his cause. So the very same liberal media, Scott, I remember this during the Iraq War because Bolton was a key architect. They wanted him tried for war crimes for what happened in Iraq. They wanted to run him out of Washington on a rail. They said he was one of the most dangerous men in America. All of a sudden, he writes this memoir and turns against Trump. And all of a sudden, Shazam, baby, CNN can't put his face in front of the camera enough. Liberals, he made millions and millions and millions off of that book. Who do you think most of the people that bought him were? They were liberals who just 10 years earlier said they wanted him hanged, that he was a war criminal, that he should go to the dock in front of the International Criminal Court. And then 10 years later, they're waiting in line to buy his book and have him sign it. So my question to you is this, Scott. When you look at someone like Bolton with 40, 50 years in the swamp, in the establishment, in Washington, in the State Department, in national security circles, and how Democrats and liberals are now rushing to his defense. Really, Scott, are they just playing us? And ultimately, no, this is of the swamp, by the swamp, for the swamp. And you have an R next to your name. The other ones have a D next to their name. But it's like the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals. The whole thing is rigged. Or it's like professional wrestling. It's just a show. But in the end, all they care about is let's get paid and everybody go home. What say you, Scott?
Hey, he's been in the establishment so long. He knows where the bodies are buried. They're trying to protect their own. He's in a fight for his life, and he knows where some of the bodies are buried, and they're afraid that he'll expose some of the globalists, some of the inside dirt that nobody wants to come out, and they're just trying to protect themselves from kickback. He's up against a wall, and he'll do anything, and I think that's why.
Interesting. Scott, thank you very much for that call. Again, really good call. Let's go to Justin in Maine. Thanks for holding, Justin, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
Hi. Not bad. So it's a step in the right direction. I'll be happy once he's punished. But I have a quick question to ask you. When it comes to like espionage and sedition and stuff like that, if you're found guilty and gone through all your appeals, whatever happened to public executions?
I'm with you. Oh, Justin, you're like a brother from another mother. To me, look, I believe murderers should get the death penalty. I believe rapists should get the death penalty. But fine, we can agree. Honestly, we can agree to disagree. Okay. But to me, a Benedict Arnold deserves the death penalty. I don't care if it's electrocution, firing squad, public execution. I mean, I don't care. But here's what you can't do. You can't take the country's highest secrets, download it. I want you to think about this on your freaking email account, your AOL, Google email account, on a private AOL server, and then just go send and send and send. They were like in chunks, like 10 pages, 20 pages, 24 pages. And this is, by the way, our most sensitive weapons of mass destruction programs, our most advanced missile systems. What are their components? What kind of technology do they use? How advanced are they really? What's the next line of missiles? Where many of our spies are located, our secret covert operations. Here, just as an example, what if we had somebody, let's say in the Ayatollahs, literally in his inner circle? Like maybe that's the reason why we bombed Fordow. We had somebody, an assistant to the Ayatollah in Iran. And the Ayatollahs are oblivious, right? They just see some guy, they think he's an Iranian, a fundamentalist like them. And this guy's like click, 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 taking pictures and feeding us this information. And Bolton, like an idiot, because he wants to collect as much info as possible, puts all of this on a private server? All of this on a private email account? And then, by the way, the Iranians hacked the email. This was I believe in 2021. They hacked it. And then they go, whoa, what? I'm just going to make up a name. Muhammad al-Muhammad, him? The guy who's working with the Ayatollah? He's an American spy? Are you kidding me? He's dead. They'll torture him, they'll beat him, and then they'll kill him. Now, this is why Trey Gowdy said, the kind of information that Bolton downloaded and then transmitted on an unsecure server, that's the stuff people will kill for. That's the stuff people die for. How do you not get the electric chair or whatever, a public executioner? How do you do that? You're jeopardizing the country's most sensitive secrets, our national interests. And you're putting people's lives in mortal jeopardy and mortal danger. And then think about it. After a while, who's going to want to spy for us? Who's going to want to stick his neck out for us and say, okay, I'm willing to, be a mole for you? Well, no, because you idiots up there in Washington, you have to keep downloading stuff because you all want to write best-selling memoirs to get on CNN and become a media analyst. And people are going to say, I'm not going to stick my neck out because in a couple of years I'll be exposed and unmasked and found out. And then me and my family are murdered. So we won't be able to conduct espionage against our enemies. We need to be able to conduct espionage. It's been going on for thousands of years. That's our eyes and ears. Look, we have agents in China. God bless them. We have agents in Iran. We have agents in North Korea. In fact, I believe the agents that we have in North Korea is what's keeping the world, from going up in a nuclear flame. They're going to tell us ahead of time, no, Rocket Man is really crazy. He's going to detonate a nuclear bomb. It's going to happen. Really? Yeah. Take him out now. So you need to have a brilliant espionage spy system and network. And it can't operate unless it's in complete and utter sensitive, classified, like in the shadows. It has to remain that way. If they get exposed, no one wants to spy for you. And then we're up a creek without a paddle. We're literally blind and deaf. That's what Bolton compromised. That's what Bolton violated. So I'm with you, Justin. This guy should get the death penalty. The noose, as they used to say. Hang him high. Instead, if they do find him guilty, it's going to be at a comfortable, security prison You know, he'll have 3 meals a day. He'll write his memoirs again, his second part 2. You know, how he was a victim of Trump. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. I have to say, just again, like I'm in the confessional, to be brutally honest with all of you, there is something very sweet about Bolton being indicted. In other words, what goes around comes around. Or as they say, karma is a bee. Now, why? Because no one made a bigger deal than the Walrus when they raided Mar-a-Lago over allegations that Trump mishandled classified information. And by the way, even then, they didn't say he transmitted it to people, that he was emailing it, that it was hacked. No, they were just saying, well, he had it in his basement, or they were in boxes that they should have been better secured, or whatever the argument they made. And even then, Bolton loved it when the FBI stormed Mar-a-Lago. He was egging Merrick Garland and Joe Biden on. Listen now to the Walrus. This is John Bolton on News Nation, January 2023, about mishandling classified documents. Lecturing everybody. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Roll cut 9, Mike.
It sets a bad example for the thousands of other people in the federal bureaucracy who have security clearances, because if the people at the top can be casual about it and then get away with it, that is not a good lesson to teach.
Now, you phony, you fraud, you disgusting deep state hypocrite. So, Mike, do me a favor. Play it again. There's this guy on his soapbox, holier than thou. Right, this is after the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Oh, people at the top, they have to set an example. Oh, my God, the whole federal bureaucracy. Oh, my. Well, if the president and his inner circle, if they can't keep classified information, then the whole system breaks down. Roll cut 9, a Mike. Roll it again.
It sets a bad example for the thousands of other people in the federal bureaucracy who have security clearances, because if the people at the top can be casual about it and then get away with it, that is not a good lesson to teach.
Yeah, as he was doing it. As he did it and as he was doing it. So the very thing he's condemning is what he did. Is what he did. And, you know, Trump was president, so he can have any classified documents that he wants. He's the one that declassifies. But let that go. Okay, just let that one go. He wasn't using it to buy, to pad his memoir for a best-selling book to make millions and millions of dollars, like this guy did. And he's going on about, oh, it's a terrible example, as he did it. You disgusting phony, you fraud, you. Now, listen to him. This is Bolton, the Walrus. Oh, my God. He was ecstatic. I thought he was going to start dancing on the set. This is Bolton on CNN. CNN. Literally, he's gleeful. He's taking glee in the wake of the Mar-a-Lago raid. Roll cut 9A, Mike.
To speculate on motive, other than that, he liked cool things. He saw things so he wanted to take them, and he was pretty much able to take them, and not just on classified information matters, on all kinds of things that crossed his desk. Some days he liked to eat a lot of French fries. Some days he took classified documents. He wanted them. Why did he want them? Because he could get them.
Yeah, but what about you? I'm just saying. Did you get them? Did you take them just because you could get them? I'm just curious. So our weapons of mass destruction program, when you were downloading all of that went for the hell of it? I'm just asking. Our latest missile systems, for the hell of it? Just what? Because it's fun? One day it was French fries. The next day you're just going to download this and send it to your wife and daughter for your memoir? I'm just saying. Our spy network in Iran that the Iranians hacked into because you put it on your freaking AOL account. You loser, you. Tell me, was that one day a cheeseburger and then the next day, let me just download it for the hell of it? That's why I'm sorry, but man, does this guy have it coming. He really has it coming. Now, let me ask all of you this. Does Bolton deserve to be indicted? In my view, 1,000%. Should he spend the rest of his life in jail? 1,000%. So please don't misunderstand me. But do many of you feel that this is like low-hanging fruit? That ultimately indicting Bolton is still small potatoes? It's good. Comey's been indicted. Letitia James, obviously now Bolton. Some of these deep state criminals are finally being held accountable. But would you like to see them go after some of the much bigger fish? John Brennan, Clapper, obviously the Hildebeest, Hillary Clinton, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, those that were directly involved in trying to frame Donald Trump during the Russia collusion hoax, and then illegally spied on his campaign and then on his presidency. And many of you are making the point, Jeff, saying, Jeff, they will never indict Hillary. Because if you indict Hillary, then that opens it all up towards Obama. You indict Hillary, and that all paths then lead to the dear leader. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quickly. Listen now to Jonathan Turley. He is a law professor at George Washington University, longtime legal analyst as well, writes a column for the New York Post. And this is what he said about the Bolton indictment. 18 charges. And he goes, look, I used to be a defense attorney. And they're going to try to argue, Abby Lowell, Bolton's lawyer, well, this is malicious prosecution. Trump is just trying to be vindictive. He wants to get back at Bolton because Bolton betrayed him, wrote that best-selling memoir, that book, and he turned on Trump and attacked him as his former national security advisor. But there's only two questions that the jury is going to be asked to answer. And on both of those questions, Bolton is guilty. Roll cut 8, Mike.
A longtime criminal defense attorney, I got to tell you, 18 counts of this kind really concentrates the mind, because the jurors tend to look at this as a very simple question. Did he have classified information? Did he mishandle it? And two arguments will not work in that courtroom. One is that this is all old classified information. It doesn't matter if it's old or brand new. If it's still classified, you violate the statute. The other argument is that everyone does this, that this is, as Abby said, everyone has diaries. Well, that's not going to fly either in that courtroom.
Well, that's ultimately what Bolton is going to try to make. That's going to be his last line of defense, that these were like diary-like entries, quote unquote. That's exactly the term that he's using. So he was downloading all this stuff. By the way, meetings with foreign leaders or meetings that Trump had, say, with the dictator of North Korea or Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin, and he's just, literally, this is all classified stuff, and among inner circle people, where there's only 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you in a room, and this guy is then rushing off to his computer, and he's just writing everything down, what was said, what was not said. What Putin said, what Trump said, and then he's also grabbing documents, highly classified documents, and his argument is, well, I was just creating like my own diary. Well, yeah, but that's not you just, writing down your thoughts at home. That's you breaching the Espionage Act. That's you literally breaching top secret classified, not just information, but top secret classified settings and meetings. So he's going to try to make that argument. I'm telling you, it's not going to fly. And look, on the two key questions, did he have classified information? Yes. Did he mishandle classified information? Yes. Guilty, guilty. I mean, in the end, it's a very simple, straightforward case. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Lou in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Jeff?
Very good. How are you, Lou?
Good. I remember this is such a strange situation because I remember years ago, back in the Bush administration, Bolton was like public enemy number one to the Democrats and liberals. Remember?
Oh yes.
I mean, he was a constant critic of Obama and Obama's policies. And then when he was on your show, he used to come. I used to agree with him because he was absolutely right about Obama. And but his foreign policy, swayed away from what Donald Trump wanted to do. And as a matter of fact, I want to veer away just for a second on this. As we talked about last week, it all goes back to Comey. Because if Comey hadn't got together with the cabal, with Obama and Brennan and all those other people, Bolton wouldn't even have been there because Comey was the one who got rid of Michael Flynn, remember? Flynn would have been the security advisor then.
That's
and he
right.
would have stayed the security advisor.
That's right. That's right.
And then I'm going to another direction here a little bit, is that Bolton criticized Trump's policies in Afghanistan, and he also criticized Trump's policies in Russia, right? So then he goes over to the other side and tries to help Biden get elected. And look what happens to Afghanistan. Look what happens to Ukraine. I mean, that's the thing that really bothers me the most, is that not only did he you be a good soldier. You let go. Just be quiet and sit, and just be a good soldier. No, he has to go over to the other side completely and help the other side win. And look what happens to our foreign policy then. And look what happens to our security then. And not only that, he goes over, and when Trump, as you pointed out, was raided in Mar-a-Lago, he's cheering that. He's cheering that raid where they came in with guns. He's cheering that raid. So, I mean, he does deserve what's happening to him. Whether he's going to get convicted or not is another story. I think one of his biggest cases now is that he is backed by the liberals, and the liberals are pushing this no kings thing, and that it's all retribution.
That's right.
And maybe he'll get swept in with all that kind of crap.
You nailed it. That's my fear. No, Lou, you nailed it. That's my fear. There's going to be a big no kings rally here, by the way, in Boston. But it's going to be all across the country. Michelle Wu, by the way, is going to lead that No Kings rally tomorrow, if you can believe it. So, and as I pointed out on X yesterday, to show you how ridiculous the whole thing is, and again, I don't want to get too off topic, but if Trump was really a king, there wouldn't be a rally to begin with. The fact that they're holding the rally tomorrow across the whole country shows that he's not a king. Never mind the fact you think a king allows opposition rallies? No. By the way, do you think a king would allow the opposition party to shut down the entire government? No. The king rules by decree. The king says, no, you're going to keep the government open. I command it. No. What? You think we could have held rallies, peaceful rallies against King George III? No. That's why our people had to pick up guns and fight a revolution. So, I mean, they're so stupid. Honestly, it's mind-boggling. But I don't want to get too distracted. I want to go back to Bolton because I think you put your finger on something. He didn't just leave the administration. Remember, he was fired. And I remember exactly why he was fired. And Trump was livid with him. And I don't blame him. And that's when he realized Bolton is not just a contrarian. He's not just someone who disagrees with me. He's a mole. He's a fifth columnist. He came in to blow up my administration, at least on the foreign policy, national security front. If you remember, everybody, I thought it was funny. I thought it was actually very funny and very well done, where Trump meets with Little Rocket Man, okay, Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea. And they really want him to give up his nuclear weapons program. And Kim, as you know, has a real penchant for partying. He loves the booze. He loves the drugs. But he's got one weakness in particular: blonde European women. And in particular, blonde women from Sweden. He's got a thing for blonde Swedish girls in their 20s. They fly him in from Stockholm to Pyongyang. I think, what is it, twice a week? You can set your watch to it, okay? And it's just one prostitute or call girl or model or whatever after another. So they lay out this video presentation. I thought it was funny the way they did it, because I thought it was so well, cleverly done, where they're saying, look at the beaches, Kim. This is what you could have if you would just give up your nuclear weapons. Look at you on this boat. Look at these hotels. And it's just women, blonde women in bikinis running on the beach. And they're like, Kim, you like that? You want that? Huh? You want it? And he's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I really want it. All you got to do, man, is, give up your nukes. So, it's basically it's psychological warfare. They're trying to manipulate him. Now, and I thought it was very well done. What does Bolton do? He walks in and meets Kim Jong-un. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just super, super quick, just to make put an exclamation point on what I was saying before the break. What got Bolton fired as National Security Advisor was, they're in North Korea. They're really selling Kim Jong-un, the little rocket man, hard on getting rid of his nuclear weapons. And so they're trying to entice him economically, culturally, even personally. So they're using his fetish for Swedish women. They're like, hey, you want Swedish women all over the beach? Yeah. You want these beautiful hotels, and, you on a speedboat, Kim. Look at you with all these blonde women in bikinis. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. So the charm offensive is working. What do you want to call it? The psychological warfare is working. And so Kim is now saying, let's talk about it. In other words, he puts his nuclear program on the table. And who's got to open his big fat mouth? Bolton. And Bolton then directly tells Kim Jong-un to his face, well, if you agree to give up your nuclear weapons program, we're going to do it on the quote-unquote Libya model. Now, what he meant by the Libya model was when Gaddafi agreed to give up all of his, WMDs, his chemical weapons, his biological weapons, his nuclear weapons program, the UN was allowed to come in, have full unfettered access, and they took everything. So Bolton is saying, you're going to have to either let us or the UN come in and take everything. But he knew exactly what buttons he was pressing, because the moment he mentioned Libya, just the word Libya, to Kim Jong-un, right away, dictator gives up his weapons and he gets overthrown and he gets dismembered. He gets killed on the streets. That was Gaddafi. That was Muammar Gaddafi. And everybody in the room said, the moment Bolton said Libya, little rocket man's head went back. Like he kind of shot back a little bit. And and right away he's like, oh, they want me to be overthrown. Oh, they want me to go the way of Gaddafi. Remember, he's a deeply paranoid, insecure man. Kim Jong-un. So he's thinking, oh, Bolton just let it slip. No, they're playing me. They don't want to keep my regime safe. Because that was the deal. Trump said, get rid of your nuclear program. We'll lift all economic sanctions. There'll be a massive investment. And we're going to make sure that nobody can attack your regime. In other words, we'll give you some security guarantees for the sake of world peace. And even the Chinese were technically on board. And Bolton blew the whole thing up. Because the moment you say Libya, Kim Jong-un is thinking, yeah, I'm going to end up just like Gaddafi. dead on the streets of Pyongyang. They're going to tear me limb from limb in regime change. And he walked away, and the whole thing, all that work went for nothing. When Trump found out, he went ballistic, and I don't blame him. I absolutely don't blame him. And that's when he said, this guy is not here to help. This guy is here to undermine, to blow up my administration. He didn't want peace with North Korea. I had Kim at the table, almost ready to ink a deal. And this guy sabotaged it at the last moment. That's why when Trump is asked about Bolton, he says he's a bad guy. Like a really bad guy. He was a deep state mole. That's what he was. And he's been a deep state mole for much of his career. So, to be honest with you, he has everything coming to him. Agree, disagree. And by the way, one last point, and this needs to be said. The defenders of Bolton in the media now are saying, well, it shows the perils of having worked for Trump. And then when Trump turns on you, or fires you, or dismisses you, or if you leave his administration and you criticize him in a tell-all book, he's going to unleash the Justice Department, weaponize the Justice Department, and send you to jail. Trump initially was very skeptical of Bolton. His instinct said, I don't like this guy. I don't trust this guy. It was Bolton who pursued Trump. It was Bolton who wanted to be put in as his national security advisor. It was Bolton who courted Don Jr. In fact, I have to be careful because I did promise things in confidentiality. But let me put it to you this way. Strings were pulled within the Trump family to reach out to me and say, Jeff, Bolton's a big fan of yours, would love to be on. We would love to hear him on. He's a compelling guest. Because we did have him on occasionally before. If you've been, watching, listening to the show, starting from the beginning, occasionally we'd have Bolton on. And he was always, I have to say, very good. His critiques of Obama were brilliant. I mean, I'm not going to lie now in retrospect and pretend, that he was bad when he was very articulate, very forceful, on point. He was shredding Obama. And the audience loved him. We got tremendous feedback. I liked him in terms of his performance. The audience was like, Jeff, please get him on more often. This guy's great. What Lou was saying in the previous caller. And so Trump's people were saying, look, Jeff, we like what he says. We like how he sounds. He would like to be a regular. He knows, people listen to your show. The administration listens to your show. And so I'm like, well, okay, it's a win-win. It's a win for the show. It's a win for the audience. It's a win for the Trump administration. So everybody wins out of this. He was pursuing Trump the whole time. And I got to tell you, it didn't matter where this guy was. I don't care. He could have been in Kazakhstan. I'm not kidding. In Hong Kong. He could have been in, you name the country. He hit that Friday hit to the second every single week. And I remember at the time I said, boy, this guy's a really devoted professional. Like usually when you have people who come on as regulars, yeah, they're good. They come on time but sometimes they miss a week or they're a couple minutes late for whatever reason. He was never late. He hit every week, every appearance. I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, this guy, he's the consummate professional. No. He was auditioning for Trump. He was auditioning for Trump. That's what he was doing. And he knew Don Jr. was listening at the time. He knew that, people around Trump, Mike Pence, would often listen when he would come on the show and others. And Pence lobbied for him hard. Pence lobbied for John Bolton hard. And oftentimes they would take clips of what he would say on this show and play it to the president. I mean, you can't play the whole 10, 12 minutes. We'd have him on. He's the president of the United States. Every minute of his day is set out for him, is planned out for him. But they would say, hey, look at this point. You know, Mr. President, wow. He's saying what we're saying, but even better than we are. Because when Bolton wants, at least in his prime, Bolton is a very articulate man. Let's give the devil his due. Highly smart, very intelligent, very articulate. And so, he could really lay out a case, especially when he wanted to go after Obama. And at the time, Trump's enemies, because Trump had now won and he was in power. But make no mistake about it. Trump did not pursue Bolton. Bolton pursued Trump. And the moment he got in, he already started to pilfer classified information. He began to download it. He began to transmit it. He was already working on his memoir, and he was already leaking against Trump to the anti-Trump media. And by the way, I never heard from him again. The second he became National Security Advisor, it's like I fell off the planet. I dropped off the edge of the world. That's Bolton for you. He's a little snake in the grass. Okay, 8 o'clock, you know what that means. Kuhner's call log, caller of the week.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thanks for holding, Ronnie.
The reason Democrats have Mamdani is because the Democrat Party has become a feminist majority party. When you look at the candidates they're running, whether it's Kathy Porter or Abigail Spanberger, when you look at the squad, when you look at Nancy Pelosi, when you look at Liz Warren, the leadership of the Democrat Party is overwhelmingly becoming more and more feminist. And men like Mamdani are the only kind of quote-unquote men that can pass their feminist litmus test. And they're never going to win nationally like this, Jeff. When you look at the No Kings protest this weekend, it's going to be all women. When you look at a lot of these ICE facilities being targeted, it's majority feminist women that are out there, because feminists are the only voting bloc left in the Democrat Party that hasn't been peeled away by Trump and the Republicans. Whites, blacks, Hispanics, men, Asians, all leaving the party in droves, and the only holdouts left are radical feminist women. Democrats are a feminist party now, Jeff. Change my mind.
And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. That was a great call. I got to tell you, that was an absolutely outstanding call. And by the way, Ronnie was completely right. I think that is now the base of the Democratic Party. And when he said, prove me wrong, I was like, I can't. Because you're right. Everything what you said is true. All right. Best audience in the business, 617-266-6868. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome.
That are out there because...
Bruce, buddy. How are you? Well, you're going to be hearing that tomorrow during the No Kings rally, Bruce. A lot of moonbats are going to be out tomorrow, not just in Boston, but across the entire country. They're going to be howling against Trump all day, all night tomorrow, Bruce. Bruce, you've been with us for a very long time. You remember when Bolton would come on as a regular guest. Are you shocked that he's been indicted? And do you think he deserves to go to jail, to go to prison?
I am the walrus. Cuckoo F you.
So I take it, yes, you think he should go to prison.
Yeah, well, you stole a little of my thunder, Jeff. He is a snake in the grass. He's a backstabber. And you're going to say that Trump's going after him. No, you know who got him? Cash Patel.
everybody that was involved with him and the deep state and what they have always tried to undermine us in our country. And I wanted to call in yesterday because I'm worried about the police. I'm worried about the police and I'm worried about the police in New York, dude. I'm worried about the people in New York. I'm worried about everything, but this guy needs to fry.
Oh, what he did was unspeakable. I mean, really, I agree with you. What Bolton did was, and especially if the Iranians, I mean, they hacked his email. That's a fact. There's no getting around that. But if they got a hold of all that classified information, and now it looks increasingly likely like they did, that's unforgivable. Honestly, it's unforgivable. No, and look, going back to Mamdani, just very quickly, because that debate yesterday, I don't know if people saw it or not, but there's a pivotal moment in yesterday's New York City mayoral debate where Mamdani, listen to this, goes after Andrew Cuomo for not, his words, these are Mamdani's words, for not visiting a single mosque during the 10 years when Cuomo was in power as governor. And he's like, how dare you not go to a single mosque? And he openly says this. He goes, we Muslims want to be treated with equality. We want to be treated with respect. We want to be treated with equity. And that you never attended a single mosque is beyond disgraceful. And when I saw that, I mean, it sent chills down my spine. Hold on. We are not a Muslim country. What is this now? Sharia law? Why does a governor or a candidate for any office, I don't care if it's for school board, never mind the mayor of New York City, why does that person have to attend the mosque? By the way, how many synagogues have you attended, Zoran Mamdani? Tell me, how many churches have you gone to? You phony, you fraud, you. But that's besides the point. Why does Cuomo have to go visit a mosque? Well, what is this, Indonesia? What is this, Iran? Seriously, what is this, Saudi Arabia? So we have to now attend a mosque? That's now the new litmus test? If you want to be the mayor of New York or any city or a governor or a senator or a member of Congress, this is creeping Sharia law. And Mamdani put it on full display last night. And I'm sorry, but now we have to ask ourselves as a nation, as a people, is this what we want for our country? Where now we slowly become a Muslim nation? Where we have to make an obligatory pilgrimage or visit to a mosque? And if they're going to insist on this, Sharia law is incompatible with the Constitution of the United States. It is. And if these are the new rules they want to impose, well, then I'm sorry. Then Muslims should not be allowed to hold public office in the United States of America. Period. If you're running for New York City and you're telling me now that it's disqualifying, and that's what he said, Cuomo should be disqualified because he never visited a single mosque, with all due respect, buddy, blank off. I mean, that's literally, now Cuomo just stood there like a mameluke, as the Italians say. And he mumbled and he stumbled, and he's a horrible candidate. Horrible candidate. And he spent half his time yesterday bashing Trump, which is why he's going to lose. I'm telling you, Mamdani now is going to win. After last night, Mamdani now, barring some kind of a unforeseen disaster, Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York. But I would have looked at him and I said, go back to Uganda. They have Sharia law there. You want Sharia? Go back. Listen, go to Pakistan, go to Qatar, go to Gaza. You love the Palestinians so much. Go to the West Bank. They have Sharia. But I have to attend a mosque in the United States of America? Buddy, F off. Seriously, F off. So that's the state of the country right now. And again, it all roads lead to the derelitter. All roads lead to Obama. And I want to go back to what you said originally, Bruce. It's great that Bolton is now going to go and face the music because he deserves to be held accountable. But what I really want are the people around Obama, orchestrated by Obama, given the green light by Obama, who set in motion the coup against Donald Trump when Trump won the election in 2016. Those are the people that framed Trump as an agent of Russia. They lied. They concocted the Russia collusion hoax. They used it as the pretext to spy on Trump, to spy on Trump's campaign, to spy on his presidency, and then to unleash Robert Mueller and to subvert Trump's entire first term. Now, I'm sorry, but to me, that's the heart and soul of the scandal. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy Bolton's being indicted. I'm happy they're getting him on violations of the Espionage Act because he did mishandle classified information. He did have classified info he had no business having. So there's no question, okay? But no, I want the bigger fish. And so I hope Trump's people are listening. I want Brennan next. It's got to be former CIA Director John Brennan. He was in the room when those decisions were made. Brennan leads to Clapper. Clapper leads to Hillary. Hillary leads to Biden and to Obama. If we're going to really drain the swamp, that's how you drain the swamp. So I'm happy Letitia James has been indicted. I'm happy they're going after Comey. I'm happy now that they've indicted John Bolton. But I want more. I don't want this to be the end. I want this to be the beginning of the end. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it is all on the table. Bolton indicted, good move, bad move, and who would you like to see indicted next? 617-266-6868. Okay, let's take a few more calls. And then a big story, huge story. I promise I'm going to get to it. But first, let's go to Luke in Harvard. Luke in Harvard. Thanks for holding, Luke, and welcome.
Yeah, I'll tell you. There's someone's got to do an AI image of John Bolton and Biden and with the top down on the Mustang driving through the streets of Scranton, Pennsylvania with the classified documents flying out of the back of it.
Luke, were you surprised when the news broke yesterday that Bolton had been indicted?
I mean, in a sense, I'll tell you this. He's just one guy. Biden himself. Pick a card, any card. They're all guilty of the same thing. Go to Pence, go to Lindsey Graham, for heaven's sake. Those two were buddies, weren't they?
Yes.
You think that he wasn't giving those all that paperwork to Lindsey while he was over there talking with Putin and making arrangements with the Ukrainian president there? Pick a card, any card. They're all guilty of it. And we're picking on one guy that looks like a walrus. You know what I mean?
Luke, is it me or, look, obviously they indicted him, God bless him, but you're right. You listed some great names, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Lindsey Graham. You could go on and on, guilty of the exact same crimes, maybe even worse, much worse. Yet nothing has happened to them. Luke, has something changed in our culture and in our country when it comes to classified information, top security? I remember growing up, really the worst thing you could do, in the United States, but frankly in other countries, is betray your country and give away or be sloppy with top secrets, with, sensitive classified information. When a story like this broke, it wasn't just that it was 24/7 wall-to-wall media coverage, but it was like complete condemnation. I mean, it was the highest possible scandal. It was considered the worst thing you could ever do. And now it's, this is retribution. This is selective prosecution. This is Trump going after his enemies. That's all this is. And I'm looking around and I'm like, doesn't any of this matter to people? What say you, Luke?
Well, I could tell you that it would matter what flavor ice cream Trump was eating if he had chocolate chip on a waffle cone, right? That would matter more than any of this, right? Like that's, oh, by the way, Donald Trump took 2 scoops of ice cream. 2 scoops of ice cream, because that's more important than, I mean, we're long past the, Barney Fife and the Andy Griffith show. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't really know what to tell you.
No, you're right. No, honestly, Luke, you're completely right. Like, Trump breathes and they indict him. You're right. He has 2 scoops of ice cream and it's the wrong flavor or whatever. And, boo, that's a crime. That's a crime. Impeach him. Impeach him. And this, again, WMD programs, missile systems, our spy networks, his email account hacked by the Iranians, and he keeps it from the FBI, or the fact that he had classified information. He kept that from the FBI. I mean, I could go on and on. He sends it to his wife and his daughter. And by the way, have you noticed, Luke, why aren't his wife and daughter indicted as well? I mean, I know the term is unindicted co-conspirator, but why aren't his wife and, I mean, they were in on it with him from the very beginning. Is it going to be like Mike Flynn? Are they going to hold the family against Bolton to try to get him to cop to a plea or, get a guilty plea out of him? But I'm thinking, well, there were 3 of them involved in this conspiracy. Why only get one of them? Get them all. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I mean, these people will start wars to cover up their crimes. I mean, they'll kill millions of people just to cover up their crimes. I mean, you're dealing with the sadistic that's beyond. I don't even think a storyteller could do this to this level. It's so deep and corrupt.
And diabolical.
Like they say deep state, but it's like it's deeper than you can possibly imagine. Anything that you could come up with in your mind could be plausible as to the level of which these people will go to cover up their crimes.
Luke, very well said. And I'm happy you called, my friend. It's been a while. Please don't be a stranger, Luke. Call again, buddy. 617-266-6868. Okay. Lines are popping. Ugh. Just when I want to get out. You pull me back in. All right. So I'm going to take a few more calls. Big story. Don't touch that dial. 617-266-6868. We'll be right back after this break. 617-266-6868. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Ron in Holliston. Thanks for holding, Ron, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ron. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. So you asked who we would like to see as the next indictment following Bolton. And if I'm going to be the only one to say it, let me say it's Fauci. Fauci for the COVID coup. That was an absolute political coup that was pulled off with that virus released from the Wuhan lab funded by the NIH through Dr. Fauci. And then as an add-on, we have to get out there tomorrow morning for No Kings. We can't let them have the prevailing message in the town square. I'm going to be out in Walpole, and recently in Portland, there were some patriots with American flags that intervened in the Antifa protest, and they didn't even know what to do. So if No Kings is all about democracy, that includes our message. And if we're not out there, then people won't see our message. It'll look like we have no support.
Well, Ron, the only thing I would advise is that please bring others with you to protect you. Have a little bit of, people that can watch your back because there's a lot of Antifa people out, a lot of crazed militant leftists, and they're itching now. The level of violence is getting worse. It's getting worse in Boston. It's getting worse in Chicago, in Portland, in L.A., in San Francisco. It's getting bad. It's really getting bad. So, I'm not telling you not to go, obviously, but I'm just saying, please, you got to be careful. You got to watch yourself. Don't go alone. Make sure you bring people who are with you, who will stand by you, who can protect you, or at least watch your back, and make sure that there's a camera on the whole time. Make sure somebody's iPhone is videotaping the whole time. Because if something does happen, you want the documented proof right there. And, I want to ask you this, Ron, because the left is making such a big deal now about this No Kings rally tomorrow. Apparently Elizabeth Warren is going to participate. AOC is going to participate. Mamdani is going to participate. Bernie is going to participate. Pritzker is participating. Brandon Johnson. Michelle Wu is literally going to be leading the rally in Boston. By the way, doesn't she have anything better to do? But anyway, let that go. This is what I can't wrap my mind around, Ron. If Trump was truly a king, as they claim, a dictator, an autocrat, you can't hold a rally against an autocrat. Dictators, kings, never allow you to hold an opposition rally. So the fact that they're able to have a No Kings rally, another one, shows that what they're saying is completely false. Because if he was a king, you wouldn't be able to rally to begin with. So in a way, they look so honestly absurd, idiotic, and there's a certain point, Ron, and then I want to get your take on this. It's almost becoming now an addiction. It's Trump derangement syndrome. It's a poison. It's toxic. You can see it. It's inciting this irrational hatred and this irrational violent behavior. But it's becoming almost like an addiction where it's self-destructive. You look at them, you almost feel sorry for them. And I'd love to hear their response when someone says, well, if Trump was a king, you wouldn't even be here right now. There would be no rally. Because he would order the rally to be canceled or suppressed, and you'd have the military here smashing all your heads open and putting you all in jail. Instead, you're going to be here blocking traffic, making fools of yourselves, and spitting on this guy. How is this guy a king? How can an opposition party shut down the entire government if he's a king? How could the entire media be arrayed against him if he's a king? I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. How could he have all these federal judges blocking him again and again and again if he's a king? Like, hello? And they're so consumed with this bile, this hatred, that they can't see, oh, that is true. Instead, God knows how they're going to lash out. So, Ron, I'm just curious, what do you think they're trying to achieve tomorrow, ultimately? What's their objective? To paralyze the country? To start an uprising against Trump? What do you think their ultimate goal is?
The goal is to keep us in fear. So, what they're doing is they're creating large groups in small towns. So, yes, they look ridiculous. I agree. We know they look ridiculous. But to the onlookers, we have to try to make them – the onlookers may or may not know if they're ridiculous or not. So for the onlookers, we have to help them see that those people are ridiculous. And if we're out there and the groups might be embarrassed that we're out there and they might not continue the protests in the future. But I think the big picture view is they're trying to create enough chaos and lawlessness on a big picture, a grand scale, enough chaos and lawlessness to to bend our will and go their way. So they would have to create chaos, and out of that comes anarchy, which is synonymous. And then from there, we're going to be begging for someone to come in and make things right. So I think that if they think we're an autocracy now, no. If we keep on going this way with the left, then we will get an autocracy, and it's probably not going to be the autocracy that American patriots want.
Oh, I agree. Oh, Ron, you've said it very well. I could not have said it better myself. Ron, please be careful. Please be safe tomorrow. Thank you very much for that call, Ron. 617-266-6868. Alex in New York. Thanks for holding, Alex, and welcome.
How you doing, Jeff?
Alex!
Just wondering, I'm no lawyer, but is there any chance that the Russian hoaxers could be swept up in a RICO statute precedent, if possible, and the January 6ers too, the instigators?
I've been urging them to do that. I agree with you. I think that's almost what RICO, I know, was invented for the mob, but this is like a political mafia, right? A political mob. I think it's tailor-made for RICO. I think both the Russia collusion hoax and January 6th. And by the way, Alex, I'm very happy you called because I want to play this cut of Nancy Pelosi. Now listen to this, and I want to get your reaction, Alex. This is Pelosi snapping at a TV reporter for Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is an outlet, and she's just simply asking a basic question to Pelosi. Why didn't you call or accept Trump's request for the National Guard on January 6th? Why did Trump asked for 10 to 20,000 National Guard troops? You're the one that turned him down. Why? Alex, listen to Pelosi's response. Roll cut 19. Mike.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Oh, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. By the way, the president does not have the authority or the power to unilaterally send in the National Guard. That was the only people that could have allowed that, authorized that, was the mayor of D.C. at the time, Muriel Bowser, and, of course, the Speaker of the House at the time, Nancy Pelosi. But Alex, she's very sensitive now when you ask her about why didn't you authorize the National Guard to be deployed. Now Alex now her line is, shut up, don't even ask the question. Final word to you, Alex. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, in front of the Supreme Court right now is an absolutely historic voting rights redistricting case, which involves the state of Louisiana, but it will impact not just Louisiana. It will impact states across the entire country. And on this decision, and this is no exaggeration or hyperbole, will probably determine the results of the midterm elections. And the way oral arguments have been going, it appears that the Supreme Court, either 5-4, conservative majority, or even 6-3 with John Roberts, are poised now to deliver a landmark historic ruling that will probably lead to up to 19 extra seats for Republicans in the 2026 midterm elections. Meaning, if they vote the way everybody thinks they're going to vote based on oral arguments, the Republicans are not just going to win the midterms. they're going to expand their majority by a good 15 to 20 seats. And so very quickly, this is now, and the stakes couldn't be higher. So at issue is a specific district, congressional district in Louisiana, which was carved out based on Section 2 of the historic 1965 Voting Rights Act. And I'll make it as simple and clear as possible without all the legal mumbo-jumbo. If you remember in 1964, 1965, you have Martin Luther King, you have Lyndon Johnson is in the White House, and of course you had the historic civil rights movement to overthrow Jim Crow and segregation. So Congress passed both the Civil Rights Act, which undid segregation and Jim Crow, and of course the Voting Rights Act, which finally gave African Americans the right to vote in the South, in the segregated Jim Crow South. Because of the existence and prevalence of white supremacy, Section 2 was added to the Voting Rights Act because at the time in the South, blacks, African Americans, however you want to call them, were denied access to the polls. They were not able to vote, or they were constantly being intimidated or terrorized or hindered or prevented from being able to cast their ballot. And so, as a way to help encourage, A, African Americans to vote, and B, to give them some extra protection, Congress allowed for race-based congressional districts, meaning that when you do a census and you apportion congressional districts in states, you can set aside certain districts that will guarantee predominantly a minority-majority area. In other words, say this district in Louisiana, it is predominantly black, deliberately carved out from different areas to make it a predominantly black district with black voters so they can elect a black politician, usually a black Democrat. Now, much has changed in the last 50 to 60 years. Segregation is gone, long gone and buried. Jim Crow, long gone and buried. Poll taxes that were used, or the Klan going around terrorizing black voters, those days long gone and buried. And so the state government, the governor of Louisiana, is now saying, look, we have 6 congressional districts. We send 6 members to the United States House of Congress. It is currently 4-2, but it really should be 5-1 because they've artificially created, going back to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, a specific district that is a race-based district. You've cobbled it together to make sure that the black community has a majority in this district so they can elect a black Democrat. That is unconstitutional. It is unfair. It violates equality under the law, and it is discrimination. You're discriminating against people in Louisiana in favor of one race over another race. That you should have congressional districts based on merit, on fairness, and on a color-blind, racially blind standard. In other words, on a non-discriminatory standard. You shouldn't want to encourage white districts, or Latino districts, or Asian districts, or black districts, or whatever. That this is now clearly a unfair, illegal, unconstitutional, un-American practice. It appears that Louisiana is going to win its argument. Based on what Alito was saying, and Justice Kavanaugh, and Justice Clarence Thomas, it appears now the Supreme Court is willing to say yes, that though the days of a race-based districts are over, And if that happens, you will then see redistricting take place in many southern states, which is going to lead, without question, to 15 up to 19 districts now that were formerly Democrat that will now go Republican. So the Republican majority is going to be added significantly. The Democrats are going to lose the midterms, and they're in a full-blown panic. So to try to justify the unjustifiable, Ketanji Brown Jackson advanced an argument that I cannot believe came out of her mouth. And just as a quick aside, if you remember yesterday, there was a couple of callers, very good callers, called in and said, you know, believe it or not, in New York City, there are some liberal Jewish Democrats who are going to vote for a Muslim militant, a pro-Sharia law, pro-Hamas candidate like Zohran Mamdani, a Jew hater, a naked anti-Semite. And they said, you know, I'm sorry, but these are self-hating Jews. What you're going to hear now from Ketanji Brown Jackson, I'm sorry, but you want to talk about, you know, self-hating Jews. Here's a self-hating black. This is a self-hating black woman. Frankly, a self-hating black person. She actually says that being black is the equivalent of being disabled or being handicapped. I swear to you, you got to hear it to believe it. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson, oral arguments, Louisiana versus, I think it's pronounced Calais or Calais. Anyway, this is the historic Supreme Court case. Ay, ay, ay. You need race-based congressional districts. You need districts that will guarantee the election of black Democrats, because blacks are just too incompetent, too disabled, too handicapped to vote on their own. Roll cut to a mic.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action, absent discriminatory intent, is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible.
Ay, ay, ay. Now, I'm telling you, Alito's face, his jaw practically dropped to the floor. According to people who were in the Supreme Court at the time, the justices were stunned that this came out of her mouth. Clarence Thomas couldn't believe it. He was staring at her like, really like, what? You sound like an old-style white segregationist. You sound like one of these old-style Democrat segregationists. That blacks are so inferior. That blacks are well, they're handicapped. They're like, you know, it's comparing it to the Americans with Disabilities Act, that they're so disabled that they need all this special treatment and special privileges and special rights given to them. I mean, the courtroom could not believe what came out of her mouth. Now, she follows it up. Listen now to this. Roll cut. She's basically saying, so just as we made special laws for disabled people, we've got to make special laws for blacks. and for blacks to vote and for blacks to have their own specifically designed districts because only blacks will elect fellow blacks. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
This is disgusting. I'm sorry. This is revolting. It's sickening. I mean, this is disgusting. So hold on. You mean to tell me that what? Blacks can't get ID on their own? What, they can't check off a ballot on their own? They can't register to vote on their own? What, they can't get on a bus to vote or get in a car to vote on their own? Ay, ay, ay. Seriously, ay, ay, ay. Now, listen now, it gets even crazier. So, this is the Principal Deputy Solicitor General, Hashim Mupan. And now there's a back and forth with Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Now, why do you need a majority-minority district? In other words, why do you have to carve out these race-based districts? Because, listen to this, white Republicans and white Democrats will never vote for a black candidate. That the color of your skin determines who you will vote for. White people vote for white people. Black people vote for black people. I guess Latinos vote for Latinos. Asians vote for Asians. It's kind of like this racial determinism. Roll cut 3, Mike.
You could control for partisan effect. There was racially polarized voting even within the Democratic Party. That's where Section 2 matters, where you have a reason to think that a racial group is being treated.
Here too. You have proof of that here.
No, you don't. What you have here is that Republicans and Democrats are different. There's no.
You have some that even white Republicans or white Democrats won't vote for black candidates.
Right, but if these were white Democrats, there's no reason to think they would have a second district. None. And so what is happening here is their argument is because these Democrats happen to be black, they get a second district. If they were all white, we all agree they wouldn't get a second district. That is literally the definition of race subordinating traditional principles.
Oh, he's completely right. He's completely right. It's a bit of a convoluted constitutional legal argument they're making, but he's completely right. You know, in other words, if we took race out of this, then we would all agree it would be 5-1. It would be straight redistricting, right? You draw up the congressional lines. It'd be 5 Republicans, 1 Democrat. You wouldn't say you need a second district for the Democrats. You're only arguing for the second district because you want to carve out, you know, a black district, you know, a minority district, but in this case, a specifically black district. Well, that's, you know, as he put it, that's race subordinating equality under the law, fair application of the law, a colorblind law. So he goes, it's blatant discrimination, blatant racism. I mean, it's there. Now, what I found incredible in that exchange. So hold on. You never heard of Barack Obama? Like, think about how ridiculous this is. By the way, he's the one that appointed her. Do you know how many white Democrats voted for Obama? Do you know how many white liberals voted for Obama? Just to give you an example. Do you know how many, I don't know, take Larry Elder. I know he lost when he ran against Newsom in California. But do you know how many white Republicans voted for Larry Elder, a black conservative? Like, hello? If I lived in California, I would have voted for him. I don't care about the color of his skin. I agree with his ideas, his policies, his values, his principles. But I don't care if he's black, purple, white, green. I don't care. But what is stunning here, honestly, it's stunning, is that an African-American woman on the Supreme Court would literally directly make the analogy that being black in America, that being a black person, is the equivalent of being someone who is quote-unquote disabled or handicapped. Now, I'm telling you, this is the same racism that you saw. The Democratic Party has not changed their racism. I'm telling you, they haven't. This is something a Democrat, white segregationist would have said in the 50s and 60s. Well, yeah, they're inferior. I mean, look at them. They're like handicapped people. They're like disabled. Now, she's using it for a different reason. She says, no, they need extra protection. They need to have their own specific districts. They would argue, no, don't give them the right to vote. But it doesn't matter. The condescension is the same. The insulting worldview is the same. So, what, blacks are now that pathetic in her eyes? So what, they can't drive on their own? They can't get ID on their own? What, they can't go vote on their own? They can't think for themselves on their own? And finally, let me just say this, and this really is critical race theory, and I'm telling you it's going to tear this country apart. And that's why I so support the Supreme Court if they rule in favor of Louisiana on this. Not just because politically it will put a dagger through the Democrat attempts to take back the House in the midterms and impeach Donald Trump, but for the principle itself. Blacks are people too. They don't need extra help. They're not inferior to whites or Latinos or Asians. It's not an undue burden for them to get a driver's license. It's not an undue burden for them to go out and drive themselves or get themselves to the polls. And think about how they view the world. So what? White people only vote for white people? Since when? That blacks, what? There's such racial tribalism that they only vote for black people? Really? Well, that's news to Donald Trump, because I got to tell you, a lot of black men voted for Trump. So is this now what the Democrats, how they want to see our country and how they want our country to operate? Like a racially balkanized country where your skin color determines how you vote, and that you only vote for the member of your race or your tribe or your skin color? This is not my America. And this is not the America of the overwhelming majority of the American people. And I'm telling you, you want to know why the Democrats are going down in flames? You want to know why they're increasingly now a minority party? Because the likes of Mamdani, the likes of Elizabeth Warren, the likes of Bernie Sanders, the likes of AOC, and yes, the likes of Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is a form of racial Marxism. This is a form of primitive tribalism that I'm telling you will destroy this country, and most Americans know it. So I want to ask all of you a double-barreled question. Number one, are blacks like handicapped or disabled people? This is from Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is what she said, that they need extra help, extra protections, because they just can't vote properly on their own. And furthermore, should we only vote based on our race and our racial identity? Do white people, should they only vote for white people? Should black people only vote for black people? Should Latinos only vote for Latinos? And to the liberals and the moonbats, I swear to you, according to these moonbats, we're the racists. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. 617-266-6868 is the number. 919 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, my friends, let me ask all of you. Obviously, big voting rights case in front of the Supreme Court. Any day now, they're expected to give their ruling. It is widely expected, 5-4-6-3, that they are finally going to ban the practice of carving out these race-based districts that have given Democrats a massive unfair advantage for many decades. This will now lead to new districts being formed, should the Supreme Court rule the way it is expected to. And we're looking now at about 15 to 19 seats now in the House of Representatives that will become Republican seats. In other words, it will decide the midterm elections. And the Democrats now can see the writing on the wall. And now they're playing the ultimate race card. They're now arguing, led by Ketanji Brown Jackson, that box of rocks, that blacks are akin to disabled or handicapped people. That they need special help to vote. They need special help to have access to the polls. They need to be put in certain districts where they're made into a majority, because that's the only way black candidates can get elected, according to them, according to Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, CNN, the New York Times, the Boston Globe. They're arguing now that whites do not vote for blacks, if you can believe it. Even white Democrats apparently are racist. That only blacks will elect a black candidate. So, my question to you, are the Democrats now an openly, nakedly racist party? And let's throw this log on the fire. To many of our African-American black listeners out there, Ketanji Brown Jackson says all of you are inherently disabled or handicapped? Here, let's flip it. Imagine if Kavanaugh had said that, or Alito, or Neil Gorsuch, or anybody. Imagine if Donald Trump came out and said, yeah, there it is, they're all basically handicapped and disabled. Can you imagine the backlash, and rightfully so? They would say the Klan is in the White House. And yet, when a Supreme Court justice, who happens to be black, Ketanji Brown Jackson, says it, no problem. When the Sonia Sotomayor says it, no problem. When a Democrat says it, no problem. Is it insulting? Is it condescending? Is it openly, nakedly racist? 617-266-6868. You know where I stand. Yes, yes, and yes. John in Malden. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Morning to you. Morning to all the listeners. For one thing, Bolton, good. I'm glad he's getting his share of excitement of hopefully he goes to jail. And when I think of the Walrus, I think of that song, The Beatles. Walrus, choo. So, anyhow, I'm just losing my breath here. I'm just walking around heavily. Another thing, too, is I'm glad that they arrested the girl and she went to court, the Marlin girl, the hairdresser, that tried to block ICE and say racial things to them and threaten them and stuff.
Well, she threatened to kill him. Yeah, no, she's 37 years old. You're right. That happened in Malden. And she deliberately tried to prevent ICE from arresting illegals. And she told them that we killed Charlie Kirk and we'll kill you too. And she called for the murder of ICE agents. And I don't know if you've seen a picture of her, John, But, I mean, head to toe tattoos on her forehead, the piercings in her nose. This woman is, she's a hardcore activist. She's a hater. She's not just an anti-Trumper. She's an anti-ICE militant. And they arrested her. I mean, you can't go around impeding ICE. And she assaulted ICE agents and then called for them to be murdered. So you're right, John. Look, enough is enough. Michelle Wu can do her no king's rally till the cows come home. But I'm telling you, if she keeps this up, they're going to lose the World Cup. Massachusetts is going to lose the World Cup. And they're going to lose funding, and it's going to get even worse. But this is what I fear. Look at the ugly rhetoric now that's coming from this party. You know, so what? Charlie Kirk's death wasn't enough? The shootings at these ICE buildings where ICE officers are being shot and other detainees were murdered and killed, shot in the neck. What, that isn't enough now? And on top of all of this, John, now to fearmonger on the issue of, you know, congressional districts, now all of a sudden, blacks are like, you know, people in wheelchairs. They're like people with, quadriplegics or paraplegics, that they're inherently disabled and handicapped and inferior. This is now coming out of the mouths of Democrat black Supreme Court justices. John, I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up anymore. John, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quick reset. I want to take more of your calls. Couple lines are open, so I want if you want to call, now's the time to call. I want to get through as many calls as possible, hear from you, the great audience of Kuhner Country. This is now what the Democrats are arguing. So let's take it head on. That the color of your skin determines who you vote for. I think it's an incredibly insulting and frankly racist argument. It's also false. It's to me patently false. I mentioned Obama as an example. How many white Democrats, white liberals voted for Obama? But let that go. 617-266-6868. Okay, we're going to go right to your calls, but first, joining us now, as she always does at this time, she's the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. It was wonderful seeing Kuhner Country this week at our special event, and we are so appreciative of our partnership with you, Jeff, with WRKO and iHeartMedia. We're truly grateful for the teamwork and all the effort that went into making such a meaningful afternoon. The energy in the room was so genuine, filled with warmth, with laughter, and that shared sense of purpose we all felt together. This week also marked 8 years of Bill Kelly passing, and it meant a lot to honor his legacy, surrounded by friends, by clients, and new faces getting to know who we are. That spirit of faith, family, and financial confidence, that's really what tomorrow's Safe Money Strategies radio show is all about. Our Kelly advisors will be sharing ways to move from inspiration to action with clarity and confidence, showing how to turn what matters most into real progress. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for such a wonderful and special afternoon. My best to Grace and the kiddos.
It was my pleasure, Kelly. Have a wonderful weekend. My best to everyone at Kelly Financial. Give them a call, 888-800-1881, 888-800-1881. Or if you prefer, you can email Kelly herself. Her email, kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Nick in Boston. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to call up and make a comment about, I'm 71 years old now, but when I was a young guy, we had Senator Brooke in Massachusetts who was a black man, and he was one of the most distinguished senators in U.S. American history. He co-wrote the Civil Rights Act in 1968, and he was before that, he was the first black man ever to be elected as an attorney general of any state. And when it came to his leadership, color never mattered. It's what he did as a man and what he did as a senator that really made the difference. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2004 and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2008. Very, very well respected and beloved black man that changed the course of history in America.
And Nick, I take it, your point being on top of everything else, this was in Massachusetts, which at the time, even now, it's predominantly white, but at the time was, 90% plus white. So if, what Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying is true, or Sonia Sotomayor, and now what the Democrats are arguing, well, then a guy like him could never have been elected. Because apparently only white people, either white Democrats or white Republicans, they don't want to vote for black candidates. So according to, by their standard, this man never would have been AG, never mind senator, correct?
Correct. And in the 60s, he was the real lion of the Senate, not Teddy Kennedy.
Nick, are you shocked? And your point is a superb point. Are you shocked? I don't know. This is that their racism now is so open, so naked.
It's not that I'm shocked.
That they look at blacks in such a condescending, insulting manner. Basically that they're cripples. I mean, that's really what they're saying. I mean, forgive me, but that's really what it's incredibly insulting argument. But yeah, they're cripples. They're handicapped. That's how they are. I mean, and that they would just say it so openly and nonchalantly. I'm just curious. Well, what's your take on that, Nick?
It's not that I'm just shocked about that. It's that a lot of Democrats don't even learn their own history that has made a big difference in America. They completely forget about who Senator Brooke was and what he did and how he changed the course of history to make a society that was equal for everybody.
Oh, amen. Amen, Nick. Really good call. Thank you for that call, Nick. So again, I know, Jeff, you sound like a broken record. It's true. I don't know what else to tell you. Best audience in the business. And notice, where's Bill in Sudbury? Where are the people, Chris in Gloucester? Where are the Moonbats now? Suddenly, what's the matter? Cat caught your tongue? Suddenly, what's the matter now? You don't want to call in? You don't want to defend Ketanji Brown Jackson or Sonia Sotomayor? Or this obvious racism now that's emanating from the Democratic Party? Suddenly, what's the matter now? No? You don't got it. Suddenly, you don't have a big mouth anymore. 6-1. And by the way, and Trump's the racist. And we're the racists, according to them. Anthony in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Jeff. Not only is the Democrat Party racist, but they're also sexist, too. I don't know I'm sure you remember your party November when in 2016 I drove an hour and 20 minutes to come to join you in celebration of Trump's victory. And you asked me, how did I know that Trump was going to win and drive all that way? Well, I work in the sanctuary city of Lawrence, Massachusetts, and the signs don't lie. I hate to stick up for the woman, but Ketanji Brown Jackson is 1,000% right. The signs don't lie. In 2008 and in 2012, while I was working in that town, there was Barack Obama signs everywhere. I sent you a video on Messenger. In 2016, there was probably 2 Hillary Clinton signs in the whole damn city. Let me tell you something. The Hispanic voters vote 100% on racial lines. If you're a Hispanic man or woman, you get their vote. Next comes the white guy, then comes the white woman, and last but least comes the black man. That's just a fact. The signs do not lie, and I have video proof of it. I sent it to you on Messenger, like I said. It's as set in stone as can be, and it's history time after time after time. Look at even when Barack Hussein Obama was first running, what did Joe Biden say about him? He couldn't shine a pair of shoes.
Anthony, let me ask you this, just to follow up to what you're saying. Do you think African Americans predominantly vote along racial lines as well? In other words, do you think they will vote for a black candidate just because the person is black? And to push it even further, what about, say, white Americans? Do you think whites overwhelmingly vote based on someone's skin color as well? In other words, they'll vote for a white candidate, say, over a Latino, over a black candidate. So, in other words, are they just now saying the quiet part out loud? What's your take on that, Anthony?
In the Democrat Party, 1,000% yes. The blacks are no different than the Hispanics. Let me tell you something, Jeff. There's about maybe 100 black families in the Lawrence area. It's all Hispanics. You go to the black neighborhoods, there's maybe 100 Hispanic people. They don't like each other. They don't like each other. Racism is prevalent in the Democrat Party. As far as Republicans, before I was going to vote for Donald Trump, I went and seen him in New Hampshire near Laconia, and I was going to vote for Ben Carson because I thought he was a brilliant man. But after I heard Trump speak, the power behind his voice, and he said everything that I stood for, he got my vote. He changed my vote. But it wasn't because of the color of his skin. It was because of the content of his message. And that's what separates Republicans from Democrats and some independents. They vote on tribalness.
Interesting. Anthony, wow. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much for that call. Okay, let me refine the question then. In other words, is Anthony right? Let's go to Jeff in Lawrence. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
But you're the one that brought it up, so I'm going to be very brief. If I think I heard you right, that Antifa creature that they arrested from Malden, you said that she said Antifa killed Charlie Kirk?
No, she said we killed Charlie Kirk.
So that means that they knew about this. It wasn't just the sole shooter acting alone, or it was all pre-planned, I believe, right?
No, she's just taking credit for it after the fact. She's just bragging, basically saying that, we in Antifa, we killed him, and we're going to kill you too.
Okay, well, my hunch is that it goes a little deeper than this, and if that's the case, there should be a class action lawsuit by the family against Antifa and go after all their resources that the backers have.
Oh, I think you're dead on. No, Jeff, I think there's no question. No, look, the shooter was, yes, he was with these pro-transgender groups online, and his boyfriend, if you want to call it that, was, transgendered, but he was with Antifa as well. Tyler Robinson was an Antifa guy. It's what I call trans-Tifa. A combination of, the radical transgender left and Antifa. No, he was Antifa all the way. And apparently now, for the first time, just to add to what you're saying, Jeff, they have made 2 arrests. The DOJ has now arrested 2 members of Antifa as terrorists. So they're now applying this designation of Antifa as a terrorist group, and they're starting to round them up. It's only 2, but we're getting there. And they were arrested for being one of the top organizers of Antifa as domestic terrorists. So I agree with you. I think the Trump administration should crack down. I think the Kirk family should sue them and sue their donors and their backers because Antifa got Charlie Kirk killed. There's no question. And to be even more honest and more frank with you, Jeff, just in Massachusetts alone, okay, around the country it's going to be thousands, but in Massachusetts, over 100 rallies are planned for this No Kings thing tomorrow. Over 100. Not just Boston. It's going to be, in Malden. It's going to be everywhere. And I'm telling you, Antifa is part of it. There's no question. No question. So Antifa is going to be out in full force, and they're going to want to create as much havoc, as much chaos, and as much violence as possible. And what's sickening is that Michelle Wu is going to be leading it here, but you got Pritzker, you've got Newsom, you've got Mamdani in New York, AOC in New York. Top Democrats are going to be there with Antifa, shoulder to shoulder, blocking traffic, confronting ICE, and trying to shut the country down tomorrow. So you have a terrorist organization whose members now are threatening and attacking ICE and bragging, saying, we killed Charlie Kirk, we're going to kill you. And they're now hand in glove, literally hand in glove, with the most prominent, powerful Democrats in the country. Jeff, I thought the resistance against Trump was horrible the first term. It's even worse now. Jeff, final word to you.
Oh, I agree with you, Jeff, and I'll be working in the thick of it tomorrow. But the military should be sent in to arrest these people. This is out of hand, and that was one of Trump's critical mistakes during the lockdowns. And when the riots began, he had every authority to be able to send in. He could have declared martial law and sent in the troops. And I probably, maybe he thought that was bad optics, but I think a lot of people would have been on his side.
I agree. I so agree. And Jeff, I think now he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think, I don't want to repeat myself, but I don't think it's a question of if. I think it's a question of when. He's not going to make the same mistake twice. He's going to invoke the Insurrection Act, and he's going to be sending in the military. Because I think at this point he has no choice. He has no choice. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but don't be surprised if there's a lot more violence. I would not be shocked. Jeff, thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. Steve in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. You once again, you're wonderful. Now, people should just realize, and I'm really talking to black people now, this country is so young. We were formed in the late 1700s, and 80 years after that, a man by the name of Abraham Lincoln went to war for black people to try to free black people from slavery. He took a bullet to the head to free black people. The world is not perfect. China is doing tremendous damage to people there. All over the world, bad things happen, except guess where good things happen? This country. And we always try to make it better. I think most black people know that. I'm a white man. If I saw another white person behaving in a racist fashion, I would be furious. And I would say 99% of white people are like that. And I think that black people should realize, and particularly Ketanji Brown, you don't get anywhere in this world without achievement. Ben Carson is a role model. He's an inspiration. These are the people that Burgess Owens in Congress, a former football player. These are people. These are wonderful people. I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're white. It's like Donald Trump says, we all bleed red. And that's what this country's about. And for black people not to realize what's going on, I think it's not that they don't realize. I think you have people like Barack Obama. I think you have troublemakers who are Marxists at the core, who are trying to turn this country inside out and transform this country. This country doesn't need to be transformed. This country is a beautiful country, and people better just realize it. It's not a perfect world, but God darn it, we are the best there is and the best opportunity for all. And that's all I want to say, Jeff.
Well, Steve, and we're the best that's ever been, and I believe the best that ever will be. And I think that's what the left never wants to acknowledge. You know, it's easy to judge anybody or anything to an abstract, universal standard, perfection. You know, everybody, when you compare it to heaven, falls short. But that's every country. When you look at the United States in the real world, no country has done better for its people than the United States. It's not even close. Seriously, it's not even close.